Hey there, my name's Brashler, and in this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to use Reverb on the Behringer XR18, which is the XR and MR series mixers. Now, if you're brand new to my channel, I'm all about helping you feel more confident in your production gear no matter where you're starting from. So let's go ahead and dive in. Now, the Behringer XR18 and XR and MR series all have 4 effects racks that are built into the mixer. And so we can see here in XR Edit that I have all of my effects racks here. So I have effects rack 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now, the way that these effects racks work is if you're using a time-based effect, which would be a reverb or a chorus or a flanger or a delay, anything that has time associated to it. These effects racks need to have a send to the effect, and then they get mixed by the effect, and then they have a return that we can then mix into our mix. Now, the way that this works is that we have some effects sends over here on the right-hand side of our XR Edit program. And so we have my main left-right mix here. And then if I click into my effects rack 1 here, I have the ability of mixing my channels post-fader to my effects. Now, the way that we can set up and make sure that it is set up in post-fader is go and select our effects rack, and go ahead and select it here. And then we can go to sends, and we can see that I'm currently set on pre-fader, which I would want to have on post-fader. Because if I'm adjusting a mix, say of 2 vocalists in my main PA, I'm wanting that blend that I'm creating for my main PA to also go through to my effects rack in that same blend. So I want to make sure that all of these are set to post-fader. And I'm going to go through and make sure that these are set on post-fader, just like that. Now, when we are mixing with this effect, we need to send our channel to the effect. So let's go ahead and do that. So right now I have my test microphone here. Check, 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 check. And we can hear that in our ears. And so it is unmuted here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my effects 1, and I am going to then turn this up to 0. So I'm going to set this up as a vocal reverb. If I have any vocals, I'm wanting to send those all at 0. Now, if I have some background vocals, I could go ahead and lower those to emphasize the lead vocalists a little bit more. But when you're mixing on your main left right, you're already going to be emphasizing your lead vocals over top of your background vocalists. So if you send them at 0 with a post-fade mix, then the mix that you're creating of those vocalists is going to be the same to your effect, which is always why I recommend setting it at 0. So we now have this going to our reverb. And so if we go and click our effects here, we can see that I have volume on the input and volume on the output. Now, we can't hear it, and that is because our vocal reverb or effects 1 return is muted and turned down. So if I unmute this and start to bring this up, we will start hearing a lot of reverb. So now we have reverb on this microphone. Now, if I go and turn down my microphone, the amount of reverb is going to be less because I've just reduced the gain of this microphone in my mix. Check, check. And likewise, if I turn this up, I'm going to get more verb and more of my microphone in the mix. And that's because this is set up as post-fader. Now, one thing that we want to make sure of is that if we are using effects, is that we never turn up the effects return in the same effects send. So for instance, my effects 1 return here, if I was to click effects 1 here and I was to turn this up, what would happen is we would eventually get a feedback loop happening. And so this feedback loop would continue on forever until you reduce the gain of that. Now, so on my effects 1, I would never want to increase the volume of my effects 1 return. Same thing with effects 2. So one thing that I like to do is I like to go through and make sure that on all of these that my effects returns are not increased. Now, the only exception for this is if I'm mixing a vocal delay. So let's go ahead and set up a vocal delay here. So I have my vocal delay set up on my effects 2 here. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go select my effects 2, and I'm going to turn my test mic up in it. And at this point, let's just go ahead and set that to 0. And so we can see, check, that I have a delay happening here in my vocal delay. And let me go ahead and name this Vox delay. Okay, so we have our vocal delay here. So if I went ahead and went back to my main mix and turn this up, check, check. Okay, so one thing that I like to do with a vocal delay is I like to take the effects return of my vocal delay and send it to my effects send for my vocal reverb. And that just makes a little bit more complex sound than just the delay by itself. Check. Okay, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my effects 1, and I'm going to turn up my delay, and I'm going to set this probably about -6. So now there's a little bit more complex sound to this vocal delay with the reverb added in. Now if I go ahead and turn this down, this delay just is a little bit more pointed. It doesn't have a little bit more of a kind of relaxed release. Obviously this delay needs to be adjusted. This is not a good delay, but this is how you can use your effects. So we can have a reverb or a delay or a chorus or a flanger. You could have a drum verb if you wanted, or an instrument verb. And all of the effects that we have here have the ability of being able to be a time-based effect where we send to that reverb or that effect, and then the effect gets returned on our effects returns here, effects 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then this is where we actually mix it in with the rest of our band. Now, I hope this video was helpful for you today. If you do happen to have any questions, or if there's a video that you're hoping that I would make on the XR or really any of the production mixers that are out there, please post that in the comment section down below, as I'm always reading through those comments to find videos that are going to be helpful for you. Now, if you haven't already checked out my website at drewbrashler.com, I have a brand new course dedicated just for the MR and XR series mixers that I just released about a month ago. And so if you're wanting to learn more about the XR and MR series mixers, head over to my website and check out that course. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great day.